The morning of December 14, 2012, began like any other Friday in the quiet, picturesque town of Newtown, Connecticut. The air was crisp, the holiday season was in full swing, and inside Sandy Hook Elementary School, first graders were preparing for a day of learning and festive activities. The school, a symbol of community and safety, was a place where innocence was nurtured. Yet, in a matter of minutes, this idyllic setting would be shattered by an act of unimaginable violence, forever marking the date as one of the darkest in American history. The sheer scale of the tragedy, the age of the victims, and the quiet suburban backdrop made the horror that unfolded that day a national wound that has yet to fully heal. Remember to comment, like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the Calendar of Crime. Also, we're coming soon to Substack. Newtown, a town of just under 28,000 residents, prided itself on its low crime rate and close-knit atmosphere. It was the kind of place where people felt safe sending their children to school. The school itself, built in 1956, was a single-story brick structure that served students from kindergarten through 4th grade. The staff were dedicated educators, many of whom had spent their entire careers fostering a safe and supportive environment. This sense of security, however, was a fragile illusion that was about to be brutally exposed by the actions of one disturbed individual. The violence began not at the school, but 5 miles away at the home Adam Lanza shared with his mother, Nancy Lanza. Sometime before 8 a.m., Adam Lanza shot his mother 4 times in her bed with a .22 caliber rifle, killing her instantly. Nancy Lanza was a gun enthusiast who legally owned the weapons her son would later use, a tragic detail that would become a focal point in the subsequent national debate. This first private act of murder was the prelude to the public massacre that would follow, setting in motion a chain of events that would devastate a community. After killing his mother, Lanza armed himself with a Bushmaster XM15E2S semi-automatic rifle, a Glock 20 handgun, and a Sig Sauer P226 handgun. He drove his mother's black Honda Civic to Sandy Hook Elementary School. Arriving at approximately 9:35 a.m., the school's doors were locked after the morning entry period, a standard security measure. Lanza, however, bypassed this by shooting out a glass panel next to the main entrance doors, allowing him to step over the shattered glass and gain entry into the building. The sound of the breaking glass was the first alarm, a terrifying signal that the school's protective shell had been breached. Once inside, Lanza immediately proceeded to the 2 first-grade classrooms located near the front of the school. The first shots fired inside the building were heard at 9:35 and 39 seconds a.m. The sound was deafening and unmistakable. A teacher in the main office, hearing the commotion, immediately called 911. The school's principal, Don Hochsprung, and school psychologist, Mary Sherlock, were in a meeting when they heard the shots. Instead of retreating, they instinctively ran toward the sound of the gunfire to investigate and protect their students, a selfless act of heroism that cost them their lives. The staff's response was immediate and courageous. Teachers quickly ushered children into closets, locked doors, and barricaded themselves with furniture. In one classroom, substitute teacher Lauren Rousseau was killed along with 14 of her students. In the adjacent classroom, teacher Victoria Soto, upon hearing the gunmen approach, hid her students in a closet. When Lanza entered her room, she told him the children were in the gym. When several students attempted to flee their hiding spot, Soto put herself between them and the gunmen, saving their lives at the expense of her own. Her actions, and those of her colleagues, exemplified extraordinary bravery in the face of pure evil. The toll of the attack was horrific. 20 children, all 6 or 7 years old, and 6 dedicated adult staff members, Principal Don Hochsprung, school psychologist Mary Sherlock, and teachers Rachel Daveno, Lauren Rousseau, Anne Marie Murphy, and Victoria Soto were murdered. The children were first graders, their lives barely begun, their futures stolen in a brutal, senseless act. The victims' names would soon be etched into the national consciousness, a permanent reminder of the day's devastation. The first 911 call was placed at 9:35 and 39 seconds a.m. Police officers from Newtown and surrounding towns responded rapidly, arriving on the scene within minutes. By 9:40 a.m., officers were inside the building. Lanza, hearing the approaching sirens and the officers' movements, fired a final shot at 9 hours 40 minutes and 3 seconds AM, taking his own life in a classroom. The entire active shooting phase lasted less than 5 minutes, but the damage was irreparable. The immediate priority for the arriving officers shifted from neutralizing a threat to a desperate, heartbreaking search and rescue operation that yielded no survivors. Investigations into Adam Lanza's life revealed a deeply troubled individual. He was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, though investigators stressed this was not a factor in the violence. He suffered from severe mental health issues, including anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder, and was described as withdrawn and socially isolated. Crucially, the investigation found he had an extensive obsessive interest in mass murders, particularly the 1999 Columbine High School massacre. His computer contained thousands of files related to the topic, suggesting a long-standing preoccupation with violence and a desire to surpass previous killers. The immediate aftermath saw Newtown plunged into a state of profound collective grief. The community rallied together, but the emotional scars were deep. President Barack Obama traveled to Newtown to meet with the victims' families and speak at an evening vigil, his tearful address capturing the nation's sorrow. The tragedy sparked an immediate, intense national conversation about gun control, mental health, and school security, dominating headlines for months. The physical site of the tragedy, Sandy Hook Elementary School, became a painful monument. The decision was made to demolish the building completely, a necessary step for the community's healing. The site was razed and a new school, built on the same property but with a completely different design and state-of-the-art security features, was opened in 2016. The original school's destruction symbolized the community's attempt to erase the physical memory of the horror while preserving the memory of those lost. From the ashes of the tragedy, a powerful movement for change emerged. Organizations like Sandy Hook Promise, founded by several victims' families, were created to advocate for gun safety legislation and programs to prevent violence before it starts. The shooting led to significant legislative action in Connecticut, including the passage of some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. Nationally, while comprehensive federal legislation failed to pass, the tragedy galvanized activists and brought the issue of gun violence prevention to the forefront of political discourse. Adding to the family's suffering was the rise of malicious conspiracy theories. These theories falsely claimed the shooting was a hoax staged by the government using crisis actors. The victims' families were subjected to years of harassment, threats, and emotional abuse by believers of these lies. Their fight for justice against these conspiracy theorists, culminating in successful defamation lawsuits, became a secondary painful chapter in the Sandy Hook story, highlighting the devastating impact of misinformation. The legacy of Sandy Hook is one of both unbearable loss and enduring resilience. It is a story of profound grief for the 26 lives taken, but also a testament to the courage of the educators who protected their students and the strength of a community that refused to be defined by violence. The memory of the 20 children and 6 adults lives on through the advocacy work of their families, who continue to fight for a future where no other community has to endure the same pain. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, like, and subscribe for future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.